things are better in a game of Dungeons and Dragons than casting a big, powerful, game-changing spell. I mean, seriously, what's more satisfying than beating a big, scary monster or slaying a dragon in D&D 5e with a smart, powerful spell, looking down at your sheet and seeing that perfect answer to get you and your party out of a tight spot, and that moment of anticipation after you announce what spell you're casting, waiting with bated breath to see if the Dungeon Master says the save has been failed or not. It's exciting. And spellcasting has never been a more integral part of the game of Dungeons and Dragons as it has been with 5th edition. But not all spells are created equal. No matter how much the game designers try to balance out everything with different options by giving them different spell levels and playtesting over and over, some spells are just better. Some might even be considered overpowered spells or broken spells, busted spells, etc. And that's what I wanted to take a look at today. Just a few spells in Dungeons & Dragons 5e that are the most broken. The spells that when you compare them to the others in the game, they just seem almost too good. And for all you players out there, get ready to take notes. And for all you Dungeon Masters out there, sorry not sorry. Oh, and as a final note, these aren't in any particular order. These are just very good busted spells. They're not exactly ranked from 5 down to the best one. So there's that. First up, we have one of my favorite spells in D&D 5e, but one that I've only had a chance to see implemented a handful of times due to its high level, and that's the 7th level spell, Reverse Gravity from the Player's Handbook. This spell is so ridiculously broken, and to be honest, kind of hilarious when used. And when I say broken, I mean broken. You get to just upheave gravity in a 50-foot radius, that's 100-foot diameter or 100 feet across for those of you playing at home. And there is, get this, absolutely zero your opponents can do about it. There isn't a save. Well, I mean, technically there's a save, but let me explain. The deck save, to not be yeeted 100 feet straight up into the air, is if and only if a creature in the area of effect has something anchored to the ground to attempt to even grab onto. If they don't, yeah, they get yeeted. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, and they slam into however high the ceiling is, taking fall damage in reverse. When the spell ends, they fall back to the earth, taking that fall damage again. But we're not done. It gets even more broken. Rules as written. Why did I say written instead of just like written? Anyways, here's the deal. If you cast this in, say, a field, a mountain pass, at the beach maybe, basically outdoors, the spell has an additional line that a lot of people overlook. Quote, if an object or creature reaches the top of the area without striking anything, it remains there, oscillating slightly for the duration, end quote. What does that mean? It means you can kill the Tarrasque with it, rules as written, albeit slowly. It means that whatever gets hung up at the top is just stuck there. No save, can't fall back down until the spell ends or concentration is broken. And you and your party can just shoot whatever you catch in your gravity trap until it dies. But wait, it gets even worse. Now, I'll say, what I'm about to say is rules as written that I, should my players actually pull this, would 100% rule differently than strictly rules as written. But as we look at that line again, you'll notice something. It doesn't mention anything about flying. That's right. It doesn't say, well, if a creature flying through magical means, like on a broom of flying or something, or if it has wings, or if it flies, or anything like that, that it can, well, then it'll make a whatever check to try to orient itself in the new gravitational pull and try to fly upside down or in reverse or whatever. The spell is simply an if-then statement. If a creature is in the area, check. If it can't grab something, quote, anchored to the ground, end quote. And if it, quote, reaches the top of the area without striking anything, end quote, then it, quote, remains there oscillating slightly for the duration. So yes, rules as written. If you see a big, bad, scary, ancient CR-23 dragon flying right at you in your party, you can totally yeet that bad boy and laugh as you just firebolt it to death. Reverse gravity is totally broken. Yeah, now I just want to see somebody use this on like a huge group of guards and just yeet like 50 dudes instantly into the air and then just drop them back down for 10d6 each and be like, yeah, I'm the king now? You all work for me. Next up, we have a spell that is outright busted. with Tasha's Mind Whip from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Tasha's Mind Whip is so deviously good. It has single-handedly changed how Dungeon Masters have to build encounters now when their players take this spell. This spell can turn even the biggest, scariest fight against a sprawling, terrifying monster into a cakewalk, as this spell attacks not the monster's hit point pool, but something far more fragile: their action economy. We've talked about it before. Action economy is king in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and this spell at just a meager level 2 can and will dominate fights in 5e by smothering NPCs in a crushing manner, stealing from them the one thing that they are already starved of. I mean, let's look at the incredible and dangerous CR8 Hydra, a 5th level party staring down at a 5-headed monster, something that is actually capable of killing a party member due to its number of attacks, able and willing to pile in automatic crit fails on death saves when it drops somebody, isn't worried in the least if they have this spell. Why would they be? I mean, all they have to do is cast it a few turns back to back and laugh as the barbarian and the rest of the party take turns moving up, recklessly attacking and extra attacking, and then moving back more than 10 feet. And what can you do as the Dungeon Master? You get no reactions, so you can't opportunity attack them back when they move back. You get only one action or bonus or move, so you have to move back up to the barbarian, so you might be able to attack them next turn. The wizard casts Mind Whip again, and the barbarian recklessly attacks once again, and then moves back 10 feet. A few casts of this level 2 spell, and the fight won't even be close. Tasha's Mind Whip is an absolute bomb and can and often will 100% shut down any encounter against a single deadly enemy. If you can force a dragon to choose between flying around and using its breath weapon because it can only do one, that's incredibly powerful. And any single enemy that can be kited like a stunned MMO mob will get crushed by the party easily, making this spell well deserving of the title broken, OP, and almost too good to even be in the game. And by the way, I have 2 wizards in my party right now that take turns casting this spell. I'm not mad at them or anything, but when I take my DM hat off and look at this with my game design hat on, I just laugh at how unbelievably broken it is. All right, guys, real quick before we jump into the next spell, I just want to give a little shout out to the Taking 20 Discord community. If you guys are looking for more people that want to talk about gaming, DM advice, find a group. We have some looking for group channels and looking for player channels. I highly recommend you jump in the Taking 20 Discord. Link is in the description to this video. So yeah, come hang out with us. That's it. Next spell. Next up on our list, we have Dominate Person, or as I like to affectionately call it, the D&D Imperious Curse. It's always funny to me to compare different fantasy worlds and how they each perceive magic compared to Dungeons and Dragons. In the world of Harry Potter, they only have 3 unforgivable curses. The Killing Curse, pretty self-explanatory. The Cruciatus Curse, also known as the Torture Curse. And then out of all the things that people can do with magic, starting fire, throwing fireball, transmogrifying animals and presumably people into flatware, and on. But no, the last unforgivable go straight to jail curse in that world is a spell in which you completely control someone and their actions, aka the 5th level D&D spell, Dominate Person. Just for the record, and to get ahead of those comments who are ready to try and correct me here, Dominate Person is not Charm Person or Suggestion, okay? Dominate Person absolutely allows you to have your target just kill themselves if you simply make them. They will only try and preserve themselves when you are not directly controlling them. So, for the 100 or so people out there who didn't realize that this does actually work differently than those other spells and are ready to tell me it doesn't work that way, now you know. Put it lightly, this spell is busted. The amount of things that you could have someone do with it are infinite. Some fun and horrific ideas might be to have a guard walk over and hand his sword to the prisoners while kneeling and laying perfectly still for them. Or the next time a monarch comes out to their balcony to give a speech to their subjects, they might, just throw themselves to their death. Oh yeah, it's a sorcerer spell, and it's absolutely meta magic capable like distance spell. That wasn't a very good sentence. You can use meta magics on it. That was the point. Or, speaking of meta magics, here's one even worse. The next time you see an archer and a fighter humanoid pair, like, maybe a pair of Drow assassins or something, whatever, who cares? You can just twin the spell and then have the archer turn and hold out their hands for the fighter to just hack off, and on and on. And you get this spell at level 9. That's not even halfway through a full 20 level campaign, although those are rare. The damage you could inflict on literally any civilization is hard to fathom. Did I mention this spell is not a touch spell? That's the part I really can't wrap my head around. Like, do you know how scary that would be in real life? Literally anyone in a crowd that got too close could make any politician do or say anything they wanted. Is your target more than 60 feet away? No problem. Just mind control any guard. Seriously, just any guard. And have them walk the extra 25 feet to your target and catch them by surprise. Dead. And the last thing on this spell that I'll say is this. I might, emphasis on might, be willing to use these ridiculous busted spells on my players via an NPC, like the spell Reverse Gravity. But Dominate is so busted that doing that would just fall clearly into the realm of off limits, in my opinion. I mean, can you imagine how a smart villain would use this against a party? Cast second level invisibility, sneak up to their camp while one party member is on watch, move 60 feet away, cast Dominate Person on the fighter, and have said fighter coup de grace the cleric by slicing their throat. Maybe the other party members wake up, but if not, rinse and repeat. Have the target willingly fail the save on a recast if they didn't do it fast enough. Then off themselves because, hey, they've read a few books before, and leaving survivors, particularly big, powerful, strong adventurers, is, really dumb. So just wipe the whole party. Yeah, do that to your party and see how eager they are to roll up new characters for your next campaign. If the DM using a single spell that isn't even 6th level against a group of players is enough to both end the campaign immediately and the friendship between said DM and players, the spell is probably busted. All right, the 4th spell on our list of broken spells is its Healing Word. I've talked about Healing Word controversially in the past, and years later, not a thing has changed. Healing Word is still unbelievably broken due to how the death and dying mechanics in D&D 5e are written. Simply put, by giving players a hard cap of 0 when they take huge amounts of damage and allowing players, or NPCs for that matter, to be completely effective at 1 hit point, makes the range and flexibility of Healing Word simply so much better than literally any other type of low-level healing, and honestly, oftentimes better than even high-level healing. Yeah, and I want to say, I did see a lot of people arguing that, well, Healing Word didn't do enough healing, and that players would just drop right over again. Right, but who cares? There's no penalty to future death saves if the player is back on the ground and bleeding out. All they need is that single point of healing and they can stand up and attack again. Additionally, that particular point of contention doesn't take into account the alternative choices for healing with a level 1 spell slot compared to Healing Word. Is Cure Wounds really going to prevent that player from dropping again where Healing Word would fail? No. But now the cleric can still cast Sacred Flame, the druid can still cast Firebolt, and the bard can still inspire someone, shoot 2 arrows, or viciously mock to give disadvantage to that opponent. Oh, and one thing that really made me laugh the last time we talked about Healing Word was the sheer volume of people that said, oh, well, just attack the downed players before they save, Cody. Which to say is oversimplifying the solution to counter this spell's raw strength would be an understatement. There's no context of how hurt the NPCs or NPC might be by the time that they actually get to drop a barbarian, how many attacks they have left, the fact that they most likely used at least one of their attacks to drop the PC in the first place, or the fact that the party with Healing Word could definitely go between the NPC and the down player's death saves. Not to mention, if the party had more than one member with Healing Word, how high the odds then become that they could get off a bonus action heal from a safe distance while still attacking the probably quite injured monster or NPC. The bottom line is, the Healing Word is so incredibly efficient for preventing player death that a party with 3 members capable of casting it will always outlive their counterparts that do not. Now, if you are running any form of home rules with exhaustion levels when you drop, or death saves that linger, or whatever, okay, fine. Suddenly now Healing Word becomes much, much worse. But if you're playing rules as written, Healing Word is simply a bomb, and by the time you reach 5th level, the cost of a level 1 spell slot to immediately save a party member's life towards the end of a combat is already beginning to feel a little free. And by level 10, you're not really doing anything with those level 1 spell slots anyway, so it really begins to feel easy to, level 1 spell slot, that's nothing. Healing Word in a rules as written game is easily one of the most broken spells in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. 7 years later, nothing's changed. And finally, the last spell on our list of the best Dungeons & Dragons spells that are broken, busted, and overpowered is Slow, as we come full circle with more focus on action economy. There are a lot of incredible spells that you might argue deserve this last spot in the top 5, like Counterspell, Wish, Banishment, Teleport, Mental Prison, or even Levitate. Yes, Levitate when used offensively is busted for sure, but Slow is just too good once it comes online as an option to take as a level 3 spell. This spell would still be considered good, great, even excellent as a level 6 or level 7 spell. But at just level 3, it easily slides into one of the most broken and overpowered spells in the game. Its one and only drawback is something that you can still easily work around, and that's that Slow has an area effect of a 40-foot cube. Even that's quite large, but it's not just an AoE effect, it's an AoE effect that lets you hand pick your targets, and it gets better. It doesn't even let you exclude up to 3 or 4 creatures. It just straight up lets you include up to 6 creatures in the cube when you cast this spell. And for those targets, what does it do? Well, it halves their speed, gives them a -2 to AC, which if you flipped it would almost be like a bless to every member in your party, not just 3. It penalizes their dex saves like a Bane spell would, and eliminates their reactions immediately like a shocking grasp effect that lasts 1 minute potentially. It steals an action or a bonus action every turn, and regardless of how many attacks the target normally takes now, they only get 1. So even the mighty Hydra that we talked about earlier would go from 5, 6, or 7 attacks down to just 1. Oh, and if the target tries to cast a spell or something, there is a 50-50 chance that the spell now takes 2 turns to cast, and if the target can't cast a spell on both turns, it fails. I mean, wow. I get that there is a save every turn. I understand that. But even so, this spell, particularly because of its AoE size and the ability to cast it in the middle of your party's fighter, rogue, barbarian, or paladin, and not worry about them getting hit in the AoE, is candidly busted. Action economy is king in 5e, and if you start taking away 3 to 5 attacks off the board per round while simultaneously lowering your opponent's AC, making them easier fodder for your fellow party members, is going to win fights that might otherwise be deadly encounters for your party. Slow just wins combat, and when you see how cheap and efficient it is to cast, its value never wanes as the campaign progresses into the upper echelon of levels. In fact, it does the opposite, because monsters with multi-attack with 3 or even 4 attacks are more and more prevalent in higher level CR monsters. The spell actually becomes more efficient as the campaign continues. There isn't even a way to upcast it, because there's no need to. You just get the full 6 creatures right away with this level 3 spell. There is no doubt that Slow is absolutely deserving of being included as one of the most overpowered spells in all of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it over to you guys in the community. What did I miss here? What got left off this list that deserved to be included in these top 5? I'll tell you, I personally narrowed the list down to 13 and then cut that 13 down to 5. And there was some really good stuff that got left off. Counterspell, Wish, I mentioned those earlier. Haste isn't on this list. And there were a few more that I think were kind of really good, even excellent, but nothing that I thought, oh man, that's so much better than everything else. So I'm curious to see what you guys think I missed here. I want to give a huge shout out to all of the incredible patrons over at welcomeadventures.com. Guys, thank you so much for all of your wonderful support. It's because of you that I get to continue doing this. So for that, I am incredibly grateful. If you guys like what I do here, you want to support more content like this and snag some rewards for yourself, welcomeadventures.com is a great way to help out the channel. Did I say that right? To help out the channel. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, or maybe you're learning to love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. I put out videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.